Welcome to ReThink You, bringing you ideas, inspiration, and motivation to start living the life you were created to live. Here is your host, author, trainer, speaker, and coach, and founder of ReThink You, Kim Lovings.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the ReThink You podcast. I'm excited today to be introducing Dr. Denise Nicholson, who is the founder of Bold Publishing Company. Like many other of my guests, I have met Denise through the Thinking into Results and Les Brown family with John Tallarico and Les Brown. But Denise is really all about books. So those listeners who are writers, you want to listen up to this one, because Bold Publishing is a publishing house that mentors and coaches first-time authors by helping them get their book out of their heads onto paper and making some money for themselves. So Bold Publishing has identified those budding authors that sometimes lack the writing skills they need to produce quality work that will sell. So potential authors also often lack the resources and support they need to thrive in the book marketing industry. The publishing house created a unique approach to solving this problem by offering a course that provides skills to any author, helping them produce quality reads and give them the tools they need to market their book and become best-selling authors. Denise has mentored dozens of writers into becoming authors. And if you or anyone you know who wants to become an author, you want to meet Denise. So Denise, I know that behind all of that, there is a story. Why don't you go ahead and tell us your story?
Oh my goodness, I have an incredible story. So I wrote the book, Sila, When Mommy Left for Foreign. And I wrote that book because my mother left me and my siblings back home in Jamaica with her parents to find better opportunities in America. At the time, it was a common thing to do. People in the Caribbean, when they get opportunities in the European world, England and America was one of the major countries that the families would go to or the mothers would go to. And they would go when they get these opportunities and then send for their children to come and live with them. But I was very young when my mother left. I was 3 years old. And I didn't quite understand. I went from having my mother all the time to just not seeing her. In my perspective, I just couldn't find her. So I started to ask around for her, and people would say, your mother will come back soon. Mom will come back soon. And I didn't interpret that as a long time. So I used to wait up in the evenings for her, looking through the window, waiting for my mom. It was traumatic. Eventually, it was traumatic for me because it was like a sudden disappearance of my mother. 6 weeks after my mother left, our father died in a tragic car accident. And that compounded my, I guess, fear or trust. And so I grew up with some disappointments, to say the least, and a bit of a feeling of abandonment. And I internalized these things negatively. And so it affected me as a teenager. I was misled and I became a teenage mother very early on, a teenager. And, I suffered a lot just trying to find my way. Eventually, I did find my way. And then I wrote the book, When Mommy Left for Foreign, Sila, When Mommy Left for Foreign. So after I wrote that book, everyone started asking me, how did you do this? And I thought they just meant how. So I would say, oh, I would just do this. But they wanted details. And I found myself answering detailed questions in my DM on Instagram when I was advertising other people who bought the book. I would take a pic, they'd send their pictures in with the book and I'd put it up. And people would say, you got to tell me how you did this because I would love to write a book, but I just don't know how. So I had an epiphany and one day while I was, doing some thinking and researching and reading, and I called my niece. I said, hey, everyone's asking me to do this. I already have my books online. I have a course that I was selling, Design a New Paradigm. I said, instead of just that course, I'd like to teach these people, how to write their books. So I sent at least 6 people that were asking. I sent them the information, and my niece put it together, helped me make some advertisement, and I started to write the course. And within a few weeks, maybe let's say a month, I had a full-blown course, and I started January 12th, 2020. Yep, that's my story.
Wow, that is so powerful, Denise. And thank you for sharing that. I can only imagine the struggles as a child to not understand that concept of why your mother was gone and then to lose your father. And as we say, there's so many testimonies that come out of the tests of life and out of the trauma, and still being able to figure out how to write that down, that others could benefit from learning from your story. So that is just powerful. And I know, as you said, you've struggled and then you were a teenage mom. What would you say if you had to summarize some life lessons? I'm sure you've learned a lot, but why don't you share the top 3 with us, the life lessons that you've learned that you pass on to others naturally coming out of your story?
So one of the major messages that I got from my own story was to forgive so that you can live abundantly, live life well. And I learned that take responsibility for where you are. Despite where you've been and what you've gone through, where you are is because of your choices. And I've learned that growth mindset will help you along any path to success, no matter what you've been through.
Great lessons. Thank you. Thank you, Denise. And I love that, being able to forgive. And so tell me, in writing, because I know that you help authors do this, and it's certainly something I've found, that when writing about trauma or memories, it's very therapeutic. It's a way of creating that forgiveness. It's a way of building bridges to people that perhaps are involved in some emotional baggage that you're carrying. Talk to me a little about how you discovered that and how you help authors get to that forgiveness using their writing.
So I've developed this technique through research and reading, and I also have a background in healthcare. So I've been a teacher for many years, and I teach mental health. So through teaching mental health and the study in mental health, I've learned so many different skills that I utilize with my author in their development and in their developing their manuscript. I utilize these skills to help them to learn how to move past certain stages of trauma in a healthy way. So instead of writing about all the gory details that you've been through, it's important to write down what you've been through, but we write in order to heal. So if we can write things that are true and still express the emotions that we are feeling and convey a great message in the mix of all of that, it will help you. It will help you succeed. It will help you go far, and it will help you teach if you can just utilize all of the things that you've gone through and find a message in there. So I teach people, during the Writing Incubator Challenge, I find a way to teach people how to take certain things that they've gone through to help them become a better person and to teach others how to become a better person.
That's powerful. Thank you. And so I want to actually digress, take us back there and explain, how did you end up going into teaching, and what sort of behavioral health teaching are you doing? So tell us a little bit about that side of your life, Denise.
Okay, so I became a registered nurse, and while I was doing the nursing, someone asked me to start teaching nursing. So I became a professor, adjunct professor at a wonderful college about 9 or 10 years ago, 9 years ago. And that opportunity led me to teaching in mental health and then I became a nurse practitioner. Now I'm a doctor of nursing practice, and I'm able to use all those experiences as a nurse practitioner to help me in this field as a teacher of authors or budding authors.
Right, to become a teacher. That's fabulous. As I said, there's this whole side of you that we didn't know. So I wanted to go there. And to become a doctor of nursing is no easy thing. So, congratulations to you. And I'm sure that you've had incredible impact on people as you've done that. So to marry that sort of knowledge of nursing from the mental health perspective and sort of marry it to writing is just an interesting combination. It's just such a great example of how we can take our gifts and talents and package them in a way that lets our light shine in the world in a very unique way. So thank you for that. I also loved how you said it's about taking responsibility for our lives, and you are where you are and you are doing what you're doing because of your choices. And I thought of Les Brown's quote when he said, you are where you are because your past self make an appointment to be here.
Yes.
I love how he says that, because it's so true that every choice we make every day determines where we're going to end up in the future. Exactly. So thank you. Yes. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Just some great lessons and how a growth mindset will position you for success in life. I know too that sometimes, certainly in journeys of success, which tends to be what I do on this podcast, it's often a very bumpy, roundabout, up and down type of journey. And when people listen to speakers like yourself who have achieved accomplishments that are doing fantastic things, often they compare themselves and immediately become self-deprecating and say, well, I could never do that. Well, she's so smart, I could never do that. So how did you figure out how to get yourself, how did you leverage your gifts and talents to get yourself on the journey that you have? We made quite a leap from that young girl who was traumatized into, oh, wow, she's a professor of nursing and she's got this and this and this. Tell us a little bit about times in your life, perhaps, where you did get off track, where things were not easy. It wasn't just a straight road to success.
Absolutely. It wasn't always a straight road to success. Like I said, I was deeply hurt and traumatized by my mother leaving, and I didn't understand it. And so I brought the traumas of my childhood into my teenage years and into my young adult years. And I didn't trust people, and I didn't know how to love. And because I didn't know how to love, I ruined a lot of my relationships. Not a lot, but I ruined the important relationships in the beginning because I didn't trust, and I lashed out easily and quickly, and I was very defensive. So I married my teenage boyfriend, that I became pregnant with. And we had a very rough time, and I won't blame myself only. We both were young, so we had a trying time just learning how to manage what we had gotten into, becoming parents, and then learning how to manage a relationship, learning how to manage a home, because I had to go and live with him. My parents were gone. And so it was a lot to ask my caretakers to take on an additional child. My mother died and left 9 children. So yes, it was really hard for my family to to even think about accepting another person in the home. So I had to go and live with my boyfriend, and it was tough. It led me to some suicidal thoughts. And I'm grateful now that I had the support I did then, because I grew up going to church, and I learned that I serve a God that I can do all things through him. I serve a God that is loving and forgiving, and I serve a God that will use all things, everything that I've been through, as a catalyst for my success. So knowing that, when I was going through, I didn't know it was depression at the time, but when I was going through my depression and found myself crying all the time, and I went to my doctor, and the doctor said, he did a screening, and then he said, Denise, I think you're depressed. And that made me very upset. But the things that followed after were confirmation that something was wrong with me. I didn't like the word that he used, but I knew something was wrong, because I started to see all of the things that I told him. I answered these questions, yet I did not quite understand that I was depressed. Anyway, I called out to my pastor, Pastor Reed, and he spoke with me and prayed with me and scheduled weekly prayer meetings with me and counseling. And those counseling exposed all the resources that I had right there. He encouraged me to go to marriage counseling. And he told me one thing that I really appreciate now more than ever, because I was worried about my children because of the arguments and the fights that me and my husband were going through. I was worried about my children. And I remember my pastor saying, no, the counselor said, your children will be fine as long as you two are fine. So work on yourselves, work on your marriage. And we did that. And because we did that, we just celebrated 25 years of marriage last summer.
That is absolutely fabulous. And what a great story for those who think that, teenage parenting and teenage marriages are doomed for failure. What an absolute blessing. And thank you for going there, Denise. I recognize that perhaps we opened a window there that we didn't expect to open. And I know that people are blessed when they hear these stories, that you're able to take yourself from a place of darkness up into the light and to see things. And I think that many times when we are lost and confused and helpless and hopeless, we do become blind to the resources that are around us. And we can't see them. That's what's going on in the brain. We're so stuck in that reactive mode that we can't see all the resources that we have. So thank you. There was just a powerful lesson in there. So tell us, how many children do you have?
We have 3 children.
Wonderful. And 25 years of marriage, silver wedding anniversary. That's fabulous. So you are just one incredible woman, Denise. As I said, what a hidden gem we have here that goes far beyond just the bio about Bold Publishing. And I can see, did you choose the name of Bold Publishing based on your own life?
No. So I asked my husband to help me come up with a name that was impactful. And I used the name Amazon. I said, you see how impactful the company Amazon is? I remember their first interview on the Oprah show. And I remember him saying those words. And I remember thinking of how big the Amazon is. So I said that to my husband. And on my way home the next morning, he said, Bold Publishing. He came up with the word bold. And it was an acronym for something, and I don't remember the acronym, but I know that bold stood out to me because we bold stuff when we write. So that I was intrigued by that.
No, that's powerful. And when I think of you, Denise, as I listen to your story, I see a boldness within your beauty. So I think the name is just very apt for your business. So thank you for that. And, you've got incredible talent. So what other gifts and talents do you think sort of came to the surface that you've discovered through your life that you are now passing on to others?
So I was a hairstylist for 23 years. Yes, as soon as I graduated from high school, I went straight to beauty school. And then I did hair and learned how to style women's hair and add beauty to them. And I learned the art of listening to a woman's story.
Wow. Wow. What a great example. Because I always say nothing in life is ever wasted. And all these little nuggets that we learn along the way positions us for what we're doing. And what you just said there is a perfect example. So thank you for that. Anything else that comes to mind?
I remember the reason why I wrote the book, one of the many reasons why I wrote the book Sila, When Mommy Left for Foreign, is because when I was in the hair salon doing the hair and I heard the stories, some of them were tragic, and the women felt like they were all by themselves, like no one else has ever been through this thing that they've gone through. And they felt alone and ashamed. So I had the idea to interview all the women, put all of the interviews together. I created some characters, and just to let women know that you are not going through multiple miscarriages by yourself. You're not going through, so many different women's issues. You're not going through these things. I mean, you're not the only person that has gone through these things. And it's nice to create a community where women can come together and see that we can build each other just by listening and sharing our stories.
So true, because there's power in community, as we've seen in the communities that we're a part of, that you're not going through things alone. So Denise, talk to me more. I know that you're just doing phenomenal stuff with your business right now. So let's sort of change direction. And thank you for sharing such incredible lessons, but also some insights into your personal journey. So from hairstylist to nursing, I think that you started that journey when you were 3, right? Because you don't look old enough to have had 2 careers already and been married for 25 years. I think it's fabulous. Talk to us now about Bold Publishing, about your course, and what are you excited about? What are you working on right now?
Oh, I'm so excited about so I have the Write and Incubator Challenge, and that is a 4-week program. But after the Write and Incubator Challenge, I invite the clients to make another step and do a course. So they build a course out of their message. So I encourage them to take this bold step into the Author's Den, and I call it the Author's Den VIP group. And in this course, I go through step by step how to complete your book, because I take them right until the manuscript is completed. And then when the manuscript is in with the Bold Publishing side, and they're doing the editing phase and the designing phase, then we're working on a course that comes out either right before. I like it to come out right after the book. And so I'm so excited about that right now.
That's exciting, especially with your background being in teaching. You would get that. And similar to my background, where I said I've been in the training and development field for more than 30 years. And I come from that training instructional design background. So I tend to do it in reverse, as we were talking earlier before we were recording about how I built the course and then write the book. And that's just the way things have evolved. So I love the journey that you have people on. And that is powerful. It's really exciting. Anything else that you'd like the listeners to know about you, Denise, as we sort of come to a close here? What would you like them to remember about you?
Oh, to remember about me, that forgiveness has saved my life. And if you ever find yourself hopeless, look deeper into yourself, reach out for help, but look at how you can grow from what you've been through.
Powerful. Thank you. Yeah, forgiveness and life lessons are there to help us grow and for us to turn around and teach others.
Yeah.
So this has been a pleasure, Denise. Thank you. Thank you for doing this with me today. And I look forward to seeing what comes out of it when we release the podcast. And I just appreciate your time. Any closing thoughts?
I do have, well, this may not come out, but monthly I have a write-in webinar at the end of each month. So if anyone is interested, you can always follow me on Instagram at author Denise Nicholson. And I always have information there to share about how to write and the write-in webinar and lots of golden nuggets.
Fabulous. We'll make sure that we have all that information out there. I know you're very active on Instagram. So again, that's author Denise Nicholson on Instagram. Thank you so much, Denise. And I just hope you have a wonderful day. And thank you for blessing us with your time.
Thank you, Kim. It was an honor and a pleasure.